Why am I such a prick? You know, probably because I haven't had a good burger in a while.
Good answer.
I read the sacred text of Argos. He wants to merge the universes together. After I heard he could remember things from S7, I knew he was the most powerful psychic mind in the multiverse.
How do you possibly think you can defy the will of the multiverse?
We will all be equal. We will all be Argos.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by if you smile. Through your fear and sorrow, smile, and maybe tomorrow
I might just be forced to excommunicatio you. You motherfuckers set us up! Looks like this deal's fucking over!
After we kill a god based on multiversal chaos, you'll be a hero.
You want to be my backup on this? I know you're good with a gun.
you just smile.
Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new episode of Knock on Wood. My name is Rowan Wood. Get it? Anyways, today I will be chatting with three very special people. This is a passion project that they have had for a long time. It's called Drake and Wayne. It is, well, honestly, it's hard to think of a certain genre. There is no genre that defines this show. Drake and Wayne is starting very soon on YouTube, and I would like to welcome Patrick Morahan, Maximus Papsadore, and Cayde Barrera here to discuss their show. Say hi, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
So, starting off with, assume I know nothing about the world the series takes place in. It is set in a multiverse, correct?
This is correct. Yep.
And is your interpretation of this multiverse different than the scientific theory, or did you take clues from that?
To jump in, this is entirely scientifically accurate. We've consulted with numerous scientist experts from institutes of truth and knowledge, and if you watch this show, you will be learning something.
Interesting. So there's an educational element here.
I'd say more education than entertainment, personally.
Interesting.
Watch it while you can before the government tries to shut it down.
Exactly. So you feel you may be a victim of censorship.
Most definitely.
Very
There
unfortunate.
are dark forces that do not want you to watch Drake and Wayne, and you're doing your duty as a citizen by tuning in week to week.
Excellent. Well, I think that's further incentive for my listeners to jump at the chance to watch this show. Now, of course, the show is named after the two primary characters. Now, how would you guys describe the Drake and Wayne at the start of the series when we first see them in Drake and Wayne?
Don't go in all at once, fellas. I mean, Max, just go ahead.
At the start, they were, two small-timer. And, they both got big. You know, you see God's Plan, and I don't know the music of the other one, but yeah.
So they are very different people at the beginning of when we first see them. Now, and as we've seen in the Jethroverse, they do eventually become friends. So am I correct to assume that Drake and Wayne is the chronicle of that path, of their path to eventual friendship?
Well, see, here's the thing. I didn't think this was that kind of interview, but if you're forcing my hand, this is the multiverse, and that's not necessarily the same Drake and Wayne.
Interesting.
So there is complete narrative tension. You have no clue where it's going. Don't assume anything. It could be the same Drake and Wayne. Could not.
Interesting. So your message to potential viewers is assume nothing because anything could happen.
Yes.
And so every good story needs an inciting incident, something to send the characters off on their journeys. Can you reveal or at least hint at the inciting incident that sets Drake and Wayne off on their respective journeys?
Whoa. Hold the phone. Pat, you okay with this?
I'm seething that this entertainment reporter would ask us to reveal a detail like that, and I'll give him a little taster. The first episode is titled "The Earth 7 Shuffle." That's all I'll say. That's the title.
And
which was revealed a few months ago, but yeah.
Which was real, but you might need a little reminder.
Yeah, we can just call it an exclusive.
And episode 1, usually where you would find such a inciting incident in a series. So who knows?
And what sort of wacky hijinks do they get up to along the way? In trailers, we've seen some very interesting situations. Would you care to speak to anything that you've released as in public footage?
Well, why don't you name a few?
Well, we've seen that there are some tangles with puppets.
Were there? Did we have puppets in the trailers?
Yes, there are many puppets in trailers. There was a shootout involving some very interestingly dressed characters, and
I mean, you gotta watch it to find out.
Oh, all right, playing coy. I see. And
McCoy from Star Trek, because Cayde Barrera is playing the superintendent, not McCoy from Star Trek.
Yeah. That's kind of rude. Do you even know who you're interviewing?
So,
McCoy.
There's also a very dark-clad figure. I know who it is, but I shall not reveal it to our listeners. But
that's Argos.
Oh, yeah, Argos.
Argos. He's the bad guy.
All right, yeah. Yep. So, Argos...
Wait, wasn't Satya supposed to be here?
Whoa.
Was Satya supposed to be?
A little bit of an actor reveal there.
Yeah, Satya is the guy who plays Argos, who's the main bad guy of the whole show.
Is he really the main bad guy, though?
Huh. Well, that is definitely not going to be said.
Damn.
Think of it like this, right? In ancient mythology, or just mythology, Argos is the name of Odysseus's dog. So there's a overarching force. And that's all I'll say.
Argos is also the name of a chain of United Kingdom stores for all sorts of odds and ends. It's sort of like the UK's Walmart.
Interesting.
Yeah, and we tried to... This is a deeply morally ambiguous show.
Mm-hmm.
And we estimate that probably 50% of the audience will find themselves completely agreeing with Argos and thinking he's the hero of the story.
Wow. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is an organization involved, if I'm not wrong, the Multiversal Police Department.
No, we can't talk about that.
Oh, you can't. You can't. At all. You can't say. You can't say anything. All right.
We could.
All right.
What's the question? What's the question?
So this is the Multiversal Police Department, and I'm not going to ask you to reveal how Drake and Wayne are associated with this organization, but it's certainly very important in the grand scheme of the show. Correct?
Yes. Do you have questions about it?
Well, Cayde's character, the superintendent.
Yes, you should ask the superintendent.
Yeah. So, Cayde, how does the superintendent fit into the story?
I mean, superintendent, you know? Without revealing too much, the superintendent is the glue that sets in motion the chain of events.
Damn. So the
superintendent is in every episode, I think. Right?
Most? I don't think I'm in all.
I think everyone but 4.
Now, because the superintendent is in the majority of the episodes, I'm assuming that they are a major character. Would any of you care to speak to that?
Well, I think Cayde could talk about their acting method, perhaps, how they embodied this character so full-heartedly.
By all means, by all means.
So, I mean, it's a lot of mindfulness, you know, to get into the character. It's very important. I spend before any scene, before going on set, shooting anything, I spend 3 hours sitting in a puddle of dirt, mud, if you will, and just thinking about things, you know?
Wow. I think Daniel Day-Lewis could take some clues from you, Cayde.
Yeah.
You know,
and
the superintendent's character...
A bit of a secret, so that's all I'll say.
Of course. Yeah.
The superintendent's character actually stretches far beyond what we even know in Drake and Wayne. And that is due because of the other series that the superintendent has taken part in.
Are you referring to the Jethroverse?
Indeed. But then the upcoming series that we will grill you on, Rowan, Burned.
Of course.
Which
has it been publicly announced that something about Burn has changed?
It has indeed. What?
Well, Burn will now be a part of the Jethroverse epilogue. All of the Jethroverse spin-offs are combining into one big story.
Whoa.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
I did not know that.
Yeah. It's gonna be it's gonna be big. It's gonna be big.
How did you know that, entertainment reporter?
Well, I actually got an exclusive scoop from the director, producer, editor, writer of the Jethroverse Court of Law, which is the epilogue, and I was given special permission to reveal it here.
Wow.
I don't believe that. I think you broke into his office.
You think so? Well, you have no way to prove it. So,
is there a Drake and Wayne? Anything, whether it's an epilogue or intro, that's being worked on at Starlight?
Yes, actually, they Starlight Films, I believe, released an official poster for the Jethroverse Court of Law, and I'm actually pulling it up on my phone now. I do believe that Patrick Morahan, Max Papsadore, and Cayde Barrera are listed on the poster. So I assume we'll be seeing appearances from you guys.
Who's the judge?
The
Wait,
judge?
That's us.
Yeah, who's the judge? Did you get Judge Judy? I heard she recently retired from her show. Was it to do the... Well, you didn't get it, but did Rowan Wood get Judge Judy?
I have not heard anything about Judge Judy yet. Yeah. But I know...
So you're playing coy with us, and you did get Judge... He did get Judge Judy.
Yeah, well, I'm not allowed to say anything more.
Or Judge Reinhold. Not a real judge, but...
Yeah, I don't let the bounds of fictional and realism define how...
He exists, but his first name, entertainment reporter, is Judge.
Oh, yeah.
So if he was a judge, he'd be Judge Reinhold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Seems I'm not as good an entertainment reporter as I give myself credit for.
Don't say
Indeed.
Regardless, let's return to Drake and Wayne. So, Cayde, one final question for now about the Superintendent. In the Jethroverse, as Maximus alluded to, we see the Superintendent as sort of a rather high-strung individual, very on edge. Was your portrayal of the character different in Drake and Wayne, and how and why did you change who the Superintendent was? Because it is a prequel to the Jethroverse, after all.
Oh, absolutely. So all of these projects that the superintendent is are at different points of their life. So you see a bit of a shift in personality, in character, as their life goes on. Yes.
Very interesting. So, and I have heard from the executive behind the Jethroverse epilogue that you have filmed future scenes as the Superintendent. So it seems that you've gone on a whole journey with the character. You've portrayed them at different points in their life. So I assume you're very intimate with the character.
Oh, absolutely. And to reveal some costume things,
Ooh.
The suit jacket of each phase of the superintendent's life says something about the character. That's a little tidbit for you.
Oh, a little scoop, yeah. Interesting. So, as I mentioned before, the Superintendent works for the Multiversal Police Department, and there are a number of other supporting characters, both MVPD and otherwise, involved in this show. So, describe your process in recruiting actors for the supporting roles. Like, how did you go about casting those smaller roles?
Well, we did several rounds of intense nationwide screen testing and auditions. We probably saw hundreds of thousands of actors, I would estimate, across both the United States and Canada. We actually did a little bit of casting in Ecuador that wasn't very fruitful, but, you want to see everyone. But strangely enough, all the actors we saw were either not very good or were very expensive. So we just asked our friends, and, actually that pretty worked out well.
Interesting.
We did blow $8 million on that audition process, and we had about $8 to do the rest of it.
So you seem to be very well endowed with a very...
Oh, well, thank you, Mr. Entertainment Reporter, but I'm married.
With a very impressive budget. How did you manage to garner this much money to make Drake and Wayne, when in fact the Jethroverse was made with nothing?
Well, they have these things. I don't mean to keep being the one talking here, but they have these things called credit cards. And if you know how to use them, they're pretty much free money.
Oh, yeah. Unlimited money, yeah.
And, you just sort of... Oh, yeah, go on, Max.
We expect a big opening weekend.
Because we have a lot of credit card debt to pay off.
Yeah, all right.
Because we just recently found out that you have to give the money back after, which kind of defeats the purpose in my eyes, but I'm not a businessman, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a tomorrow problem.
Very, very, very true. So, switching gears a little bit, tell our viewers, our listeners out there, about the writing process. How did you guys go about writing the episodes? And also, as a little bit of an addendum, how much of what we see on screen was scripted and how much was improvised?
The majority of it was improvised. It was this process was I don't even know. I mean, like, when we started filming this, we this is like a legit answer too. Like, when we started filming this, we had no idea like what we could be capable of. So most of the writing process was more just like, okay, what can we actually, like, you know, writing, like when you do script writing, you know, you want to be able to like write whatever you want, right? But then we actually realized that no, we're actually filming this and we just have like a beginner's camera and we didn't know what we could actually do. And it wasn't until like, I don't know, was it like 3/4 through the filming process or something like that, we realized that with the Adobe softwares and whatnot, you know, you can do some crazy stuff with like editing and sci-fi mayhem that it completely turned everything on edge, and the whole series became, or is going to become, something that we never even imagined what it would be from the start, including when we were actually writing it.
Because I think that's the thing, you hear that you make a movie 3 times. You know, when you write it, when you shoot it, and then when you edit it. And it just took on a really different life of its own once we were able to punch up the energy and stitch everything together and, you know, look up bizarre YouTube tutorials for special effects shots. Like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As an actor, I can say that they gave us a lot of freedom, creative freedom, to make the most authentic film we could do. And I think that actually contributes to the overall feel of the entire thing. The energy is just a very chaotic energy, which it was put there in place specifically.
I think the superintendent stuff you do is so fun. Like, I think our only direction to you was to be louder and scream more. I think that was the extent of it.
Yeah, there were a couple lines where you're like, I wanted this in. So, but other than that, I just kind of got to do whatever. Great.
As Quentin Tarantino once said in his Golden Globe speech, that's 2020, right? That happened in January, right?
Did it? Oh, yeah. Did he win Best Picture there? A screenplay?
He won something for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But he mentioned, he mentioned how, as much as he would like to take credit as being the writer, being the quote guy who wrote it, you know, he admitted that if it weren't for the cast, it would be, you know, completely different, and it wouldn't be what it was when it hit the screen. And I definitely can say the same thing here. I mean, a lot, I'd say, like, what percentage of, like, the entire, I don't even know, like, I guess lines, but also, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'd say most of our film was just
on the day.
Like we would tell. I mean, it wasn't completely on the day. I mean, we would tell we would tell like the actors what the line was.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we were telling them, but say it in a way that it actually feels right for you, like your character, because one of the things is that when you're actually writing, when you're imagining the situation at hand, right? Like when you're actually typing it up as a script, you're trying to imagine, okay, like what's the most real, you're trying to picture all the characters in the room and the environment around them, and you're trying to imagine what's the most realistic approach, like what would these characters actually say in this situation. And then when you get on set to film it, you might begin filming, and then you might think that this is a little bit robotic. So as directors, you might not want to be too much of sticklers when it comes to, this is the line, say it as it is, and you want to give the actors the opportunity to say the line, or even say a completely different line that gives off the same message, but in a way that feels right for them.
Because if you stop that, that's how you get like Star Wars prequels. Like, I don't know, we always have a goal. There'll always be like, this is the bit of information that needs to be conveyed in this line, and you're the one making the character. I think a lot of we came off a lot more subversive than I think we ever did ever intended, because most of the time, if there was an archetype that someone was playing, it was the last person to be playing that kind of archetype. Like, I don't know if there's anyone who really fit their character. Like, I don't know. If anyone knows me, I'm not the cool leather jacket guy. And Max isn't the by the books guy, and Cayde's not the guard chomping, balding. No one's like exactly what they're supposed to be. Not yet.
At the same time, though, I mean, like, none of our characters are like who we are in real life, but for the process of making this film, when we were making the characters, it's not like a normal film where you make the characters first and then you cast the roles. I mean, I'm sure you can agree, Pat, that the characters created for this film were completely based off of our real life friends who just wanted to be in the movie, and we actually made the characters around them, specifically like Oshin and our friend Ryan, who just wanted we just wanted to dress up as like a freaking pimp.
Oshin is probably the person who most fits his character, but definitely. Even then, he was really committed to. When you see him, he's playing a guy named Dr. Somnus, and he's going all out doing a voice, the most lovely voice that we had such I don't know, trouble keeping consistency. Like he'd know when it wasn't right, and to me it'd be like, oh, it sounds fine, but he'd be like, no, we need to go another round of that. Because how long? There's like a very, I don't know, maybe it's like a 4-minute long kind of mostly exposition-y scene. And how long did that take to film, Max? Like,
dude, I don't know.
That was probably a day, and that was not entirely.
That was a whole day. I mean, even if you think about it, I mean, when we were planning this movie, right, like using Oshin as another example, I mean, we were still getting the characters together, all rounded up, but it wasn't until that day, it was just a random day in high school where, like, he was in the room with us after, like, study hall, and Oshin was there. Yeah, it was after, like, one of our study halls, and Oshin was just, like, he just, like, walked into the room, and we were talking about our movie, and it was just like, oh, do you want to be in the movie? And he's like, oh, yeah, sure. And then we made a character around him. You know what I mean? And, it's stuff like that where a lot of our characters, I think, have come from.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know. That's the fun way to do it, is to just...
Yeah.
And that was the thing where you were saying to me the other day, Max, that you weren't sure if we were going to hit the 90-minute feature mark by the end of this.
Oh, jeez.
Like over 3 hours.
Yeah, do we want to reveal the runtime or the estimated runtime right now?
Yeah, go for it.
This is gonna be let's see, episode 1. Do it by episode. All right, I'll just do it. Episode 1 is gonna be like a bit over 30 minutes, right? Episode 2 is going to be like barely hit the 22-minute standard time.
Mm-hmm.
So episode 3 is like going to be like 30 minutes exactly. Episode 4 is also going to be about 30 minutes, I'd say. And then episode 5 and 6 are probably like 25 minutes each.
Yeah.
So it's like 50 plus just add
an hour and a half. Yeah.
An hour and a half. So it's 220. It's going to be like a 2 hour 45 minute.
With
the series.
I think it'll be like.
With the credits.
Just about 3 hours, I think, by the end of things.
Yeah, we like doubled the amount of time that we actually thought it would be, because we didn't grasp it at all. I mean, when you watch a movie. I mean, we seriously, after filming it, we thought it was actually not going to be that long at all, because we didn't realize how long these scenes actually went on for. But that's not to say that our scenes like go on for a long time or just have like a bunch of pointless dialogue. I mean, because when we were filming this, I mean, our film, or it's a series, but initially it was going to be a film, or we were thinking of it as a film, but we're always going to make it as a series. But anyways.
We always conceived of it in chunks, though.
Yeah, exactly.
That had beginning, middle, and end, yeah.
Yeah. But, like, not to toot our own horn for this movie, but, I mean, it's pretty freaking rockin', dog. Like, it's pretty freaking rockin'. Like, every scene, there isn't just, like, like an 8-minute dialogue scene of just like people talking. It's genuinely, okay, this happens, and then moving on to the next thing, and we did that for freaking 3 hours.
Like, okay,
yeah.
As an actor, I saw like a good portion of it, and I was in a good portion of it. But still, when I watch some of these, like, trailers, some of these parts, I have no idea what's going on. So I'm just as excited as everybody else to see this, because I don't even know what's going to happen.
You still might have no idea by the end.
I mean, there's a lot that we just straight up left out.
I mean, we've been trimming fat. That's the one thing I think we could do on a couple of these episodes that we do have in the can, is like a couple seconds here and there, like that kind of thing. But there isn't too much superfluous stuff, I don't think, right?
There isn't too much what?
There isn't too much like, you could take or leave this. Like, it's always, I don't know. It always feels like you're doing something in a scene.
Yeah, everything feels important. I don't think it feels like rushed or anything, because it is 2 hours and 45 or 3 hours long. But it's like, there's just, the action is definitely there. There isn't any slow moments. There was going to be, I will talk about, there's another thing we were talking about with Oshin, is that, I won't say exactly what we did with Oshin's big kind of moment scene, but originally we were going to have a scene with Dr. Somnus, who's this character who speaks in just like this monotone, and wears like these blacked out Morpheus glasses.
He's a Morpheus parody, kind of like JFX.
He was going to talk for like 6 to 8 minutes. Just straight.
We should put that out just as a scene.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a lot of content to just release alongside just this little goofy.
A hell of a blooper reel.
From blooper reels to just maybe Marvel What If we didn't re-edit it.
What if we released the drastically worse film? Completely stupid. I mean, not saying this isn't stupid. But...
Yeah, but we changed that whole scene. That was originally going to be him talking for like 6 to 8 minutes.
Oh, not we
something
changed.
Else.
You changed, man. You knocked out of the park.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be completely. It's going to be completely different, and, like, it's going to hit everyone on the back of the head. Like, they're not even going to see it coming, especially, like, from the lead-up.
That is one of the most exciting things in it, because you just dropped that. I don't even think you told us what you were working on specifically, but you just kept going, like, this scene I'm editing, and it lived up.
I think it was because, like, I feel like if I said, like, oh, I'm editing the sauna scene, everyone was just going to be like, oh.
Really?
It's just going to be the worst build-up. Like, dude, I'm so worried that this scene is just going to be shit. And that's why I just, like, kind of dropped it. It's kind of like I was working on that while I was in, just, like, my college dorm room.
Oh, I can't imagine that. And is that something like your roommate's looking over your shoulder? What do you...
Yeah, no. I'm tight with my roommate. Roommate. His name is Charlie. He's insane. He's awesome. He actually gave me a lot of good feedback.
Wow, that's fantastic.
While editing it.
Chuck.
A fellow memer as well.
Oh, there you go. That's what you need to hear. I don't know. And that's the other thing that gets me is that one of the things that I think is coming together in the edit that was surprising, beyond even effects, is I think our character arcs, really do work. Like, I mean, they're the simplest kind of. I mean, it's buddy cop, and we try to be subversive. Do we hit that at least like 2 homoerotic movements an episode?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Or more.
We definitely it's definitely in question. It's one of those things that people can theorize afterwards. It's like any I mean, we kind of played on that idea that, like, it's so, oh my god, it's so fucking ridiculous. Literally every, I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but every film or book that has 2 protagonists who are of the same sex, there's just the constant theory that it's they're gay.
Well, and every one of those... go on.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. No, you say.
Every one of those works is like that, especially buddy cop movies. They always have, like, shirtless scenes and stuff. I mean, you're thinking, is Top Gun have the volleyball? Like, that kind of thing. But then they always... I've heard someone call it... the characters come down with a case of the not gays, where you throw in a scene where they, like, either a completely superfluous sex scene or a love interest, or you just have a scene where they, like, ogle people, like women, like, be like, oh, we're both attracted to women. I don't think we ever do that, do we?
No. We have a.
I'm sorry, Cayde's in Robot Land.
Yeah, Cayde. Whoa! What the hell? Cayde, you're breaking up.
Cayde's in a tunnel.
That was a big... Yeah, wow.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
We do have just because I want to give you a little bit, just a few tidbits for this reporter.
That on the, yeah, go on, Max.
We may or may not have a bed scene with Drake and Wayne in bed.
That's the closest to a not gay, isn't it? Because we... Because the opportunity was and not only a bed scene, but my actual bed scene.
in a very later on with another good friend of mine who we've been trying to get the sexy scene going, but our friend Jack O'Hare got that bath scene. Managed to convince him for that.
Oh, yeah. That's our most risque scene. That'll get taken off of YouTube.
That's, we'll see about that. I mean, we've been trying to convince him to do it for months, but we finally convinced him to do the bath scene.
All the fangirls and the either confused or self-assured young fanboys
Yep.
will enjoy those Jack O'Hare scenes.
Those Jack O'Hare scenes, bro. All right. Anyways, what's the next question?
Well,
Hi, entertainment reporter.
how was the filming process? Like, how did you? I know you touched on this before, but how much, if any, planning went into, like, say, a single day of filming?
I mean, we'd know what we were going to do that day.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like we'd just show up and be like, what should we do today? It would be, Tuesday we're going to do this.
We did a lot of outlining over the course of, like, the winter and spring before this even happened. So we had a mutual understanding of, like, what we were filming that day.
There's some times, though, where I think if you were gas, I was brake. More often than not. I think by the end of it, I think I was kind of, I don't know, you can lose sight of what you're doing by the end of things and be like, I remember in specific, one more contentious bit was, we have a scene involving a car. And I remember saying, like, just let's just cut it. like just have the car in a drive, and you're like, no, we need to. And to your credit, you were right that the movie's better for it that we have that car in there. I was not there on that filming day, but was it, Mac? Am I wrong in saying that was the day when the police questioned you guys? Filming that?
Oh yeah.
That was actually my next question.
Oh, literally. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it was just like, it's the type of thing where I just thought when you're making this sort of, like, Odyssey adventure, to just have at least one moment where it's, like, boots off ground.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, just even if it's really brief, you know, it's like, you know, just to kind of slap something else on there, like, okay, there's, like, a car involved, like, driving.
You were
just
right.
as that
really right.
mini thing.
I thought it was superfluous, but you were right that it really adds something.
And it was just another part of that episode that it's in, where it just gave it another bit of pizzazz. But so when we were filming it, it was like on this road that's outside of my neighborhood. It's there's a main road outside of my neighborhood, but there's another road that is in between my neighborhood and the main road, and that road has, like, a whole section of it where there are just, like, no houses, and there's, like, it's actually a place, because there are, like, little divots off of the road where you can, like, park your car in and whatnot, and it's known as a place where people have done drug deals before. And so this woman, you know,
a real Karen,
yeah, was she didn't confront us herself, but she was walking her dog, and I mean, I kind of can't blame her, but at the same time, Jack O'Hare was filming and literally had a camera pointing at us on a tripod, so, like, I don't know, maybe it was for just, like, a film. I mean, I don't think if a drug dealer would film themselves, like, you know.
I don't think a drug dealer would be in the costume, Ryan.
Yeah, but it was Ryan and I in a car with him wearing, you know, that suit. It's like, oh, we're not suspicious at all. But it's like, it's just, I think more than anything, it's just these, you know, our damn fellow Americans getting too sensitive from what's not normal, in that, oh, this guy is just in a car wearing a silly costume. I haven't seen that before. Let's call the police. And it was just really annoying.
Ryan looks like he's like a drug dealer in, like, a Baz Luhrmann movie. Like, he's not like a real drug dealer.
We actually first got confronted by a guy who was, like, the closest house to where we were, like, middle-aged man with his shirt off, like, the hell are you guys doing over here? And he was actually, okay, I make him out to be some weird redneck, but he was pretty chill. He did have his shirt off, though, for, like, no reason. I don't know what the hell that was about.
Was it a hot day, or is
I guess it was the summer. But he was just saying, like, oh, this isn't my property, but I was just, you know, wondering what you're doing, and then we just told him it's for a filming project, and then he was like, okay, whatever. But the cops came around. and
Guns
it was
drawn.
literally just a guy that pulled up, and he was like, "What do you guys doing?" I'm just like, "It's a filming project," and he's like, "All right," and then drove off. That was it. But we still got put in the police the paper.
I posted that. I think I archived that post, but
yeah,
don't they call it a school project? And
yeah,
it's not a school. You didn't lie to an officer, did you?
No, I said it was a project. I may have said it was a school project.
No, you must have. Yeah, defend yourself. You must have just said a project, and he must have assumed by your age.
I literally don't remember. I could have said project or school project. I literally just don't remember. Maybe I said school project.
Statute of limitations. You're good.
Like I didn't care enough, and like the officer obviously didn't care enough either.
Yeah. He's probably doing something. He's probably like, I don't know, doing work and had to come out because some people.
Oh my god, some fucking Karen. Oh my god.
Did she confront you? She must have been jealous. Yeah.
Jealous of the cool outfit.
We actually, I saw her. The other two didn't see her, but like when she came back around, and I saw her like literally behind a tree with her phone.
What?
Dialing and calling. I was at the end of the block. She still had her dog, and I mean, she wasn't like a cartoon, like, peeking out of a tree, but like she was just kind of like in the shadow of like a tree.
She didn't even have the guts to like confront you guys, like be like, "Get on! You're not allowed here." Like she hid behind a tree. That is so embarrassing.
Oh my god, yeah, dude, we're a huge threat.
She can't even. Yeah,
it's
at least the other guy like asked, like, so she makes 2 passes around, like. What can she possibly be thinking? Like,
I don't know. I mean, it is out of the ordinary, but I hate
a lot of things are
when that's just like
that's your go-to
a motive for you to call the police. Like, god damn it, dude.
Oh my god.
Wow. So.
Yeah.
All in all, it wasn't that big of a deal. It's just a fun story to tell.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
So, let's backtrack. Let's backtrack a lot. So, Drake and Wayne first appeared in the Jethroverse, in the 3rd season, the 3rd and final season.
Last episode of the 2nd season.
That's true. Well, that's true. That's true. They had a cameo in the post-credit scene of season 2. Now, are there any connections to the Jethroverse in Drake and Wayne?
Yeah. Not a lot. I don't know. I'm not being an asshole about it. Like, there are.
Well,
I mean,
remember what we talked about yesterday too?
Yeah, we literally were just talking about this. Go on, Max.
Yeah. Okay, you want me? Okay. We have one real connection other than the fact that it's just in the same universe, and that is having a tribute character in our film who is Carrie Voss. And as everyone watching this podcast surely will know that Carrie Voss is a big character in the Jethroverse, and she has this appearance in our film that can very well be connected, kind of like, we were talking about this as well, like Gravity Falls and Rick and Morty style appearances. It's kind of hard to explain without saying what exactly happens, but
she's there.
I'm sure Rowan would definitely
it's a lore bomb.
What was that?
It's a lore bomb. It's interesting.
Exactly.
It's backstory stuff, and it's stuff that's there for the people who really, really care.
Yeah.
She's with a character that I've made the call, Maximus. I've changed his name back. He was gonna be called Daniel Hyannis, which is a reference, but then we were gonna call him Daniel Oregon, and it's back. He's Daniel Hyannis. That's who Nick's playing in that scene next to it.
Yeah.
That's canon. His name is Daniel Hyannis. Daniel Hyannis. He's one of the best characters that's in it for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's almost like there's more in the Jethroverse that references Drake and Wayne. I don't know, because we have that little Richard D. Johnson call out in the Jethroverse. You remember that?
Or when you think about it, we did have a lot of the concepts, like the dreamscape.
Yeah, well,
and the core in general, just like
that was a lot of like watching the Jethroverse. We sort of that was our main note, was like, well, what's the kind of things like we don't want to tread over the same ground that the Jethroverse has done.
Yeah,
but we wanted to say like, well, what kind of dangling threads are there that we find really interesting, that we really want to explore and want to do things with. Like, yeah, the core is a good example where you mentioned the core, Rowan. You're not Rowan, but entertainment reporter Rowan mentions this concept called the core.
Yes, originally mentioned in the Jethroverse season 2. Yes.
Yeah, and so that's one of those things where we're like, well, yeah, let's do something with the core. Let's have, I mean, not to spoil anything, but we go there at the end of the show, but not to spoil, but you know, it was other little things like, oh, the dreamscape is interesting to us. The teleporting is interesting to us. Like, what kind of neat stuff can we do with teleporting? And one of the bigger things was doppelgangers. You know, having multiple versions of yourself on screen at the same time. You know, having them interact, having them. You know, we have a fight scene that's pretty lovely. Like, that was one of those things where it was like, it felt like missed opportunity kind of in the Jethroverse. So we thought, like, well, if we flesh out this little lump to the side, it'll satisfy that.
Yeah, I think the universe itself, yeah, that's right. The universe itself, just the elements of it actually do, you know,
yeah, well,
goes back to a lot of the Jethroverse. But there was also, did you have to say something, Pat?
Yeah, one thing is that, Max, do you remember my original pitch for the identity of our lead villain?
That's
that what you were about to
what I was about to talk about.
Oh, yeah, go right ahead.
So, just without spoiling, like, our series or anything, I'm actually just going to list this as if it was, like, a completely separate idea, right?
Yep.
So, like, originally, when we were making this film, the main villain was going to be the evil...
Well, a version.
Or, no, it wasn't going to be Jethro Smith.
No,
it was going to be...
It was going to be a Jethro. Not the Jethro Smith, but a...
No, it was going to be the universe where Jethro had a brother, right?
No, that was how you wanted to adapt it. My original pitch was that he was a powerless Jethro who was left out of the Parliament, and then you came up with the brother angle, and we went with that for a while.
Yeah, I said the only reason I said brother was because obviously the actor that we had, you know,
there's a resemblance.
Jethro.
But it's not. It is obviously not the same person.
Yeah.
But I mean. My justification with that is that the older Jethro is not, you know, he doesn't exactly look like Brennan.
Yeah, and then the other reason for making it like the one universe where Jethro or Jethro's doppelganger had a brother was that to kind of fuel the reason why he was left out. Like, okay, this guy shouldn't exist, right? Because doppelgangers aren't meant to have a brother that doesn't exist in any other universe, you know what I mean? So, like, it made it so, like, it was questionable on whether he should be allowed in the Parliament, but he was really just a freak of nature because of this, like, odd circumstance of him even just being born. And, yeah, but anyways, we ditched that. We even had, like, a line in our film where we mentioned the Parliament, but we cut that too
That's
because
not in there? I thought it might have been in there. We don't say
no, I think we ended up wanting to try to. I mean, it is a prequel after all, so who even knows if any of the stuff that's in the Jethroverse.
Who knows how the aging works? Because we act like we're old fogies in Jethroverse, like
exactly
the exact same.
Like maybe the Parliament didn't even exist. I don't know. You know, so we kept it lore wise pretty standalone.
It's for everyone who wants it. Like it's there. It's on the margins, sort of like it's the last little cookie you can get if you're really invested.
Yeah.
So the Jethroverse was mainly just like a starter for you guys. It was an inspiration.
Yeah. You know, I mean, yeah, definitely. It can't be said how much it sort of shaped our ideas because it's, that was the whole, like, I think no matter what, we would have done something, but because we'd already had that connection, but I think not you, but Entertainment Reporter, but Rowan Wood sort of casting us that was like a good jumping off point to us because we already had a dynamic set out. And it worked for, the two of us doing together. It was a kind of dynamic that gave us both like a role in it and would play off our own dynamic and our dynamics with our friends and things like that. So it built from there.
Mm-hmm. And so you sort of touched on it a little bit back there, but how did the idea for Drake and Wayne originally come about? Like how did you decide on creating this as a project to commit to?
God, do you remember, Max?
Well,
what did we just say that we were going to do it?
Man,
I can't remember.
I don't know.
I remember you guys talking about it pretty early on that you were going to do a spin-off Drake and Wayne.
Some point like that.
Yeah.
I know that I wanted to get some experience making a film before I went to film school, which I'm in college for right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I remember. I don't know where it sparked. I know I was really pushing for it because it was that type of thing where it's like, everybody says at one point that, oh man, I want to make a movie, but then of course they don't actually do it. And I wanted to not be one of those people. And so we were yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where it sparked though.
I don't know. I've heard that kind of thing that it's like, the best kind of film school is to just do it. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak to actual film school because you're in one, Max, and a very good one at that. But I don't know, the amount of things that you learn just from doing, you can know the 3/4, you can know to not break the rule of third, that kind of, I don't know. I'm just spouting nonsense, but you can hear these things, but to actually do them is such a different thing, and to learn things on the fly and to rip things off. And I mean, if you're nice about it, you call it homage, but we did a lot of rip off, recreations of things we like and references. And
yeah.
So within Drake and Wayne, there are a lot of allusions and, references. Yeah. References to items in pop culture that you are fans of.
Oh, for sure.
Yes, very much. Yeah, very much. Deliberate references and I'd say less rip-offs, but maybe inspirations.
Well, I personally, there's a show I very much like called Spaced. There was a really early, Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright, which is, it's an amazing little, tiny UK series, but what they do is recreate in a lot of episodes, sort of shot for shot in a different context, scenes from classic movies that you can tell that they're big fans of. So we do a lot of that. There are a lot of scenes that are lifted straight from other things that we really like, and that we've recontextualized and sort of made into a gag. And there's a lot of stuff too that's more subtle, like that I think you'd only really recognize if you're looking for it, or if we told you, or I don't know, if you're just insane and had something on the brain and connected images in your head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, you guys first discussed Drake and Wayne on Knock on Wood, this podcast, way back last summer when you were deep in production, when filming was taking place. So how has this show changed since then in terms of, structure, story, characters, any aspect, really?
Changed over the course of what?
I think it's been like 8 or 9 months.
Jesus Christ, that's a very complicated question. I feel like we talked about. I mean, I feel like that kind of goes into the whole, you film a movie 3 times, like Pat said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think while we were filming, I don't know. I mean, well, because it would change just because every day you wouldn't know exactly where things were going to go. Like, you'd have like, oh, we're doing this fight scene today. We knew we were going to do that, but we didn't, we'd be coming up with choreography or, who gets blasted over here, who's going to get thrown through something over here. And a lot of it would be what people would have access. Like, we have a scene with a real bullwhip, right? That just a friend brought on the day, and we're like, this is incredible. And I think we have a lot of good bullwhip shots that are a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. So it was So it was really just a matter of improvement over the past few months. You've realized, oh, maybe this could work, and oh, looks like it did work, and all that.
Yeah, every minute this thing's in the oven, it gets funnier.
Oh my god! I'm just thinking of all the dude. This is like the type of question where we would really need to chunk up this question, because I'm thinking of all this stuff from like the fact that we cut an entire episode, remember? And
yeah.
That
and then made an entire other episode by accident.
What was that?
Well, we were gonna do 6. We truncated and cut out one of them, and then so we had 5, and then one of them just got so big that we're like, well, it has to be 2. So we got back to 6 by accident.
And then there's the what was it? I forgot. All right, I already forgot. Okay. But it's like from like the stuff that we cut to like the.
Should we talk about the thing we cut, or?
Oh, I'm just thinking. There's even other. Remember Wilkin as well. There's like a lot.
Oh, that was a big thing. That was one thing I won at cutting out that you wanted to keep. But I thought
that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
It was a really good. Well, it was a great idea, but it was like one of those things where it's like, this is just gonna be.
Well, it was a good idea that we cut it. I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're right in cutting it.
Because we really hung on to that.
It was a good. No, it was okay. It was a good idea on paper, maybe, but no, I'm happy that we cut it. It was.
Well, because we were going like skies of the like one of the things I remember in our puppet one, we had a gag where we wanted like in every one of these movies with a car chase, there's the bit where the car like slams trash cans out of the way, like pulling down an alley or something. Do you remember that? We wanted we wanted to have like an Oscar the Grouch type character to be like, hey, what's going on? And just get slammed by a truck. You remember that? We had a speed. Well, we wanted to. There were a lot of like little gags like that where we'd think of like, and it would be up in the air like whether we could pull like we have a character with 3 eyes, and we were able to pull that off. But like, you remember we had a bit where we wanted to throw a puppet in a garbage disposal?
No, I don't.
We wanted to have a puppet get thrown in a garbage disposal. And, like fluff to shoot out. Like
I remember that. Yeah, I don't
remember now. We couldn't crack it, so it was just like, never mind.
Like shove a puppet, in the sink garbage disposal, and then just hear the sound effect, like kind of like Mario falling off a cliff or something, like.
Yeah, exactly like that. We wanted to have
Getting
like
shredded.
stuffing like shoot at the top, like when you shove. I was gonna say when you shove someone into a meat grinder, like that's relatable. I mean, like in a movie, like
All the time.
when someone gets thrown into a meat grinder.
I also wanted to
Sawmill.
shoot a puppet with my deep sire laser to fly out the window and explode in the sky like a firework.
That laser. How many times do we end up using that?
The laser. How many cinema crackdown?
Yeah,
How
if
many
you're doing cinema sins, that'll be the number one thing. Because it has a whole scene like introducing, and we barely used it.
Yeah. that's one of the just like couple somewhat big plot holes that we have.
I call it a plot hole. I don't know. We established that you're like not very good with it.
Yeah, that is true. I guess I do accidentally shoot it in episode 2.
And you accidentally... Well, oh, that's spoilers. But...
Well, wait. Well, it's not that spoilers, right?
Not that spoiler.
I just say that I accidentally shot it in episode 2.
Yeah.
I guess that... yeah.
Well, whatever. It's we call into question a couple times how effective it is. So it's not
Goddamn news reporter.
Goddamn news reporter. You've unzipped us, news reporter, entertainment reporter.
What can I say?
You're good at your job, is what you are.
Thank you.
Deceptively powerful.
It was more that just in episode 1, I talked about using it in this big event that happens. Like, I literally say that I'm going to use it in this event that happens later in the film, or in the episode, and I just don't use it. That's more of what it was.
It's satisfying when you use it, though. It's fun. Well, because that was the pitch, like, that came from, that whole stupid idea was, like, we didn't think, I don't know if we thought it would be, like, too edgy if we had guns, or didn't think we'd be able to get hold of too many guns. But then it turned out a bunch of our friends were very much into airsoft, and so we had tons of guns that didn't look too much like guns, but were still, they function.
Yeah. We had,
it's supposed to be everyone was going like pew pew, and it's supposed to be like ridiculous.
So you guys weren't like, would you say that realism and like, like you were trying to have fun, basically, right?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I totally forgot about that Oscar the Grouch. Getting rammed by a car, knocked over. Oh,
that would have been... maybe that like decreased my passion for the scene when when we realized like there's no way we could do that.
Yeah.
The puppet stuff, I think it works, but it's probably one of our bigger like swings, and I don't know if it's like, it's not like, it's certainly not the best part of our stuff. Would you agree on that?
Yeah,
Max?
I would agree. I was thinking about it. Well, there's a certain thing that I did to the edit that makes the episode a lot better. That I think Pat, you know what it is. I told you, but I'll just I'll keep quiet on that. But I think for the puppet, I was thinking about the puppet episode, and this might just me be trying to justify to myself that like, oh, it works. But something that I did think of that. What was that?
It was some of the first stuff we shot too. But go on, sorry.
Yeah, definitely, and that's pretty apparent. But it's almost so ridiculous that it makes up for it. It's also our shortest episode too, so you don't have to bear through it too long. Mm. But the thing that I did think of was like, okay, how do I say this without
whatever to say.
Okay, I'll just say it. So when we go to the puppets, it's Drake and Wayne's first mission, right? And it's like this moment where Drake and Wayne are like really, the way we set it up, it's like we're getting really pumped up for this first mission, and then we're just dealing with a bunch of bunch of puppets. So it's like, it's kind of like that anticlimactic theme anyways, so I think it works pretty well.
It's almost funnier in just like the fact that it exists.
Yeah.
Just like it fleshes out our kind of like Like, I don't know. That was something we always wanted to do, is to make sure we're not doing the same thing every episode.
Yeah.
We always wanted something really distinct and really like, oh, remember the time where Drake... Like, we didn't want to have, like, 5 episodes where it's like, oh, remember the time where Drake and Wayne fought those goons? You know?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
It's like, no. Remember the time Drake and Wayne were looking for puppets, and remember when this and that. There's always something strange going on.
Yeah, each episode in a way is kind of like its own. Well, you know, it's episodes, so it's kind of, they got their own theme, but it's like its own mission in a way, and they're all they are all very, very different, and there are a lot of other kind of excursions that Drake and Wayne go on that are, toot our own horn, really freaking awesome. But it does fit. It's like it's how I convince myself that it does fit. Like, right, it is like puppets and ridiculous, but it's also just like that that one scene there, that idea of, like, you know, also Drake has literally just graduated from the academy and is being put on, like, the first, like, real mission. Oh, wait. Well, anyways. Yeah. Okay, wait.
Whatever, it's fine.
No. I'm not gonna do this one. Let's just say it's like
Tom Holland did all this. So.
Yeah. Let's just say it's like, you know, it's the first big kind of episode, standalone, whatever mission. It's like this big thing, but then it's like, oh, it's just puppets. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyways, next. I almost said something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why I stopped myself.
I don't know. I also wanted to say, one of the things I'm more impressed by as well, that we sort of did accidentally, was it's very rare that where it feels like something's coming completely out of left field. Like, usually if a character shows up, they're gonna have something, like, they'll come back, you know? They'll come back a couple times and have something to do.
So,
do you agree with that, Max? Like,
yeah. Wait, what are you talking about? Who are you talking about?
Like, I don't know. To not spoil, there are a few times where it's like, yeah, we could just have the character walk off screen and never appear again, but they come back, and there's almost something funny to me about
I know
kind of continuity. Like,
I know what you're talking about.
There are a few characters I could be talking about where it's like it feels like
interesting.
We did a much better job than expected with, like, setups and payoffs, I think, in that.
Yeah, that's another thing that I thought about, that I was thinking about a lot with just the adventure, is that there is a lot of that. Characters, big and small, have complete arcs.
Mm-hmm.
The only person that I'd say that doesn't is Genevieve's, but but she's there for the reason where it's like, as I explained earlier, right?
That's our nod.
It's our nod to the Jethroverse, and she's like that kind of cameo character that makes an appearance here for the deep lore fans.
Well, and it's interesting because at one point she was going to come back. Yeah, remember that?
Oh,
that was one of the big ones.
That was the episode that we cut.
The episode we cut was supposed to sort of give her more to do and sort of justify her.
It was.
Had we cut it by the time we filmed her scenes, or I think we still thought we were going to do it.
Yeah. I think so.
It was like midway through, we looked at, like, the amount of stuff we had to do, and we're like,
it was an episode.
It was our original episode 4.
It sparked. I mean, Genevieve sparked the idea for the episode for sure. It was one day when we were talking.
Well, because she's great. We really did want to use her.
Yeah, and it ended up being. I actually, like, wrote the whole thing out, and it was just one of those things where it was very much filler, and it didn't really contribute to the film plot at all. and it was mostly contributing to the Jethroverse and like developing on Carrie Voss's like lore, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just like, oh my god, this is gonna be like a whole another episode. And also, we couldn't get the location for it. I won't say what it is because let's just say this location. We found an alternative for another scene.
You're right.
Yeah, you remember. I mean, this would have been. It would have been we wouldn't have been able to like get this location or even try to like.
Logistically, it was like going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, it was just a logistical nightmare, and also time wise, and like, but we found out that. I mean, another just legit reason was that we also realized that the end of episode 3, this was going to be the original episode 4, which would have made it 6 episodes, and so, we realized that the end of episode 3 could very well make the outcome for episode 5.
It was like a very neat, like snip. Like, we're like, oh, yeah, no. You know, like, we don't... It was supposed to... I don't know. The information that we learned in 4, we could, like, shunt onto the beginning and end of 3 and 5. Yeah, it was just like, it was a clean snip. Like, everything flowed fine enough. And I think it worked out for the better. And that was what... We can talk about the sugar glass, right? Just because that's in every trailer.
Oh, yeah, it was,
That's simultaneously, like, the best and worst scene. Because I was watching it back, and we're both, like... I think we're both so, like, eager, like, this is so cool that we have this sugar glass bottle that smashes... Like... I think we are both smiling, like, my legs are crossed. It's, like, so bad. But it's so good, because it really, like, smashes on your head, and, like, it cut you, right? Like, actually?
Yeah. It cut my neck a little bit. It slit my throat, because it kind of, I guess part of it, like, slid across my neck, and since my neck isn't, like, a hard surface, it just, like, straight up.
That was insane. I mean... And we weren't wearing goggles or anything.
Yep.
We were picking up batches real hard. It looks good. Like, I don't know. That's one of my... Yeah. I love that's in there.
Yeah. Long story short, it was just like... we realized that cutting that episode literally didn't affect the story at all. And so, in the end, it was just like, okay, wait, then so we should just cut it. Because it saves us time... And we can literally link the 2 episodes that it's between, like, super easily. And we cut it. And it was also kind of cringe as well.
Was it?
I remember the Thor hammer bit.
Yeah, that would be if that was in there, that would suck. And
would suck. Oh my god! I don't know. I don't know what I was on. That was like the first real script I had ever written. And I was just like, I look back on it, and it was like, it's just, oh man. And we ended up introducing like 1 or 2 other characters too that would have had no idea, would have had no purpose in the film, that wouldn't have had a complete arc like everyone else in our film does. Mm-hmm. Yet would be left open for Rowan to use because we were just kind of trying to create all these characters that maybe, you know, because of our like friends that we had in real life that maybe could be utilized in the Jethroverse later on. But in the end, it's just like, let's just focus on our film. Oh man, that was crazy. Pat, do you want to talk about Wilkin?
Yeah, I can talk about Wilkin. Well, who came up with Wilkin? Yeah, I can't remember. But
I think you did. I think you did, right?
I came up with Wilkin? Yeah, well, it was a gag we wanted to make fun of. We have an episode where we're lost. That's not too much of a spoiler. We wanted to make fun of Lost because I like Damon Lindelof. I think he's funny. I've never even watched all of Lost, but I like Damon. But we were gonna have a smoke monster, but it was gonna be a steam monster because we were confronted by like steampunk style post-apocalyptic people, and we're gonna have just a monster made out of steam was gonna be chasing us. We were gonna fight it. We were gonna suck it up in a vacuum or something. I can't even remember.
No, we weren't.
I can't remember how we were supposed to defeat it. We filmed like a couple like plates for like when we thought we were gonna put it in and stuff, right?
Yeah. What happened was wait.
Yeah? Well, dude, I don't know. It was the kind of thing where we were like, God, you were the one fighting for it. I was the one fighting against it. Where I was like, because it's not like your typical effect shot where it's like we do like effect shots for like teleports, and those are pretty simple because it's like it's a small amount of characters. It's quick. It's supposed to be quick, and you always know like what's going to happen. But like this was a man made out of smoke, and it was going to be in crowd shots and like
it was he was a man made out of
steam, not smoke.
Oh well, no, that's not what I was going to correct you on, but yeah, okay, so yeah, yes, man made out of steam, but he was only going to fuck me. All right, and so I bought a morph suit, a white morph suit, and the white morph suit was going to be just kind of like the default form of Wilkin, but he would be able to transform into like a cloud of steam, and like for example, his arms could like disperse into like steam clouds and stuff like that. But he would always kind of resolve back to like his just normal state of like a humanoid, figure, which was portrayed in just a white morph suit. And he was part of the steampunk camp, and the lore behind it was that he fell into like a steam engine or something, and he just became steam. And we yeah, what else do you have to say about
God,
it?
I don't know. There's not much to say about it. It was like the kind of thing where it was like our eyes were bigger on our stomach than that one, and it was like
yeah, definitely.
And it was the kind of thing where it's like, well, it's cool, but it's like it's going to be such a nightmare, and it's going to eat up such resources and energy that we could do like 20 more cool things in the time it would take to do that.
Yeah, it was one of those things where there's always those things in films where you want to do something cool, but it just doesn't work, and it's,
yeah, we could do a whole podcast on, well, we're gonna do director's commentary, right?
Yeah, oh, sure, yeah.
We got it.
What was it? That's why I was saying that we could really chunk up that last question, because we're just talking about stuff that we cut as part of the overall idea of what has changed throughout the whole process. So I'm just trying to think, is there anything else that we cut that was like pretty big?
That was huge that we cut?
Because Wilkin was pretty big, obviously.
Wilkin was pretty big. We scaled back
4.
Some of the puppet stuff. I mean, a whole episode, that's pretty big to cut.
Yeah. I guess episode 4 seems big, but, like, we didn't even start filming that. Like, it was just something...
We probably still have the design documents around, but, like...
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. And we don't have too many deleted scenes. Like, we have truncated scenes, but not really.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I don't know. You can go.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, we might... I keep hemming and hawing, because I love Mr. Patriot scene. The introduction of Mr. Patriot. That's the one thing where I'm like, this is, like, kind of superfluous, but I don't want to cut it. Do you know what I mean, Max?
It's... yeah, I know what you mean. It's brief enough.
Yeah.
I think, and it's pretty goofy.
It's fun. It's fun. All right, Mr. Entertainment Reporter. I'm sorry for interrupting.
All right. No worries. So Drake and Wayne is has been in production for a long time, editing, post-production, but it finally has a release date, which is this coming Sunday, May 31st. Mm-hmm. Now, do you have a set time that this will release on YouTube, that episode 1 will premiere?
It'll be on...
Let's do prime time. What's prime time?
I'm not sure, but it'll be on the Mirror Pool Picture Motions YouTube channel. So search that up, subscribe. But yeah, when will it release?
Prime time for television is between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. So, what do you think, Max?
When does Rowan release his?
I believe,
episodes?
Originally the Jethroverse episodes premiered at 9 p.m., but that was a little bit too late to get, like, the main viewership. So I believe in season 3, the release date, the release time was around 7:30. But I'd say 7:30 or 8 would be a really good time to attract the prime viewership. Yeah. If you wanted just, like, a humble entertainment reporter's opinion on everything. Yeah.
7:38 sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'd say 8 as well. Or so, yes.
8 o'clock.
7:38 or so, yeah, either one of those.
8 o'clock.
If 8 o'clock is part of the prime time.
Hard on these jokers.
If 8 o'clock is part of that prime time thing, then might sound good. So, it's... I don't know what to say right now, but yeah, it's maybe 8 o'clock.
Interesting. So, this has been a real treat. We got a lot of big things and a lot of little things also revealed in this episode of Knock on Wood. Don't forget to subscribe to Mirror Pool Picture Motions on YouTube. Drake and Wayne.
We're almost the biggest mirror pool on YouTube. We need like 2 more subscribers.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, so
saw that too.
Yeah, get out there, subscribe to them.
Subscribe.
Notification bell.
Oh yes, of course. You can't forget that.
Subscribe.
And the very first episode of Drake and Wayne.
Subscribe.
The very first episode of Drake and Wayne. The very first episode of Drake and Wayne is entitled The Earth 7 Shuffle, and it will be available at prime time on May 31st, so y'all need to check it out. And for Knock on Wood, this has been Entertainment Reporter, and I would like to thank all of you, Maximus Papsadore, Patrick Morahan, and Cayde Barrera, stars of Drake and Wayne, coming very soon. New episodes will be released weekly, correct?
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
Every Sunday.
I, for one, cannot wait.
Most likely 8 p.m.
8 p.m. Excellent. You heard it here first, folks. Regardless, thank you all out there for listening. Don't forget to come back occasionally for new episodes of this show and for other shows, especially the Jethrospective, co-hosted by Rowan Wood, Patrick Morahan, and sometimes Henry Komar, which takes an in-depth look at every episode of the Jethroverse, and perhaps there will be some Drake and Wayne episodes later on.
Ooh. We need to... Oh, what's the name of that? Could it be the... Something spective?
Well, I assume I'm just spitballing here. I would assume that it would still be the Jethrospective, but it would cover Drake and Wayne episodes because they're all in the same universe, same multiverse rather.
We'll see about that.
Jethrospective.
I think we need our own podcast.
Hold on, what did Cayde say? Cayde.
A Jethrospective Drake and Wayne edition?
That's got a ring to it. It's got a ring like a bell.
Yeah.
Wow. I like it.
I need at least put some new Microsoft Paint artwork, please.
That is not Microsoft Paint. That's Paint by Net. I made that. I can't believe you'd say that. That is.
Sorry.
Here's the thing, Max. That is Comic Sans, though.
Wait. What was the What's the pilot one?
The pilot pack?
Yeah, what's the pilot pack?
I don't know. Daniel.
Sorry. The knock on wood art is actually. The knock on wood art is actually really good. I was more thinking of the pilot pack.
The pilot pack, yeah, that one was designed by one Daniel Cousins.
That explains it.
Whoa, throwing some shade there. Well, regardless, I want to thank you all for joining me, and thank you for stopping by Knock on Wood, and I'm sure I will have you back on at some point.
Can I clarify too, in case any this is something that's been weighing on my conscience. If anyone ever discovers, like all the early episodes of the Retrospective, that any opinions I express on the Retrospective are not my actual political opinions.
Yeah, probably.
I just want to throw that in there.
Yeah, probably best to
either
clarify
Trump
that.
or me, and if it's Trump, then you ain't. Okay.
I just want that on the record, and I don't think Max actually knows Super Mario from the Mario game.
Whoa. What? Mario. Super Mario.
I don't know. I could just see someone in our futures stumbling upon those episodes, Max, and saying, "Oh my God, Max knows Super Mario. I need to fire him."
What?
You could get canceled over being friends with Mario. That guy's really problematic.
Bro, he represents so much diversity, though.
Italian diversity?
Italians? Guys who go, "Papa da Biba,